Here's a question that might sting a little. What if your dog is actually happier the moment you walk out the door? Not relieved you're gone forever, but genuinely, secretly enjoying the peace and quiet of an empty house. Sounds impossible, right? Your dog goes crazy when you leave, whines at the door, maybe even howls for the first few minutes. But stick around for the next few minutes, because what actually happens after you leave might completely change how you see your dog's daily life. And trust me, the middle part of this video is going to surprise you more than you expect. So if you're a dog owner or you just love understanding how these animals really think, hit that subscribe button now, because we're about to go deep into something most pet owners never even think to question. Let's start with the obvious part. You leave for work and your dog acts like the world is ending, barking, scratching at the door, maybe even crying in a way that breaks your heart a little. It's natural to assume this means your dog is miserable the second you're gone. But here's where it gets interesting. Studies using hidden cameras and behavior trackers have shown something strange. That intense reaction, it usually lasts only a few minutes. Some dogs settle down in under 5 minutes. Others take a bit longer, sure, but the meltdown at the door is rarely the full story of what happens next. So what actually happens once the initial panic fades? This is where things get fascinating. Many dogs enter what behaviorists call a resting state, almost like a mental reset. They find a favorite spot, maybe your bed, maybe a sunny patch near the window, and they just relax.
Heart rate drops, breathing slows. In a lot of cases, dogs left alone in a calm, comfortable home actually sleep for a significant chunk of the day. We're talking hours of uninterrupted napping, something that almost never happens when you're home constantly interacting with them, playing, talking, moving around, creating stimulation.
And that's not even the wildest part. Some researchers who've studied dog behavior in empty homes noticed something owners rarely get to see. Dogs often explore spaces differently when alone. They sniff longer. They investigate corners they normally ignore. Without a human directing their attention every few seconds, dogs get to fully engage their sense of smell, which, by the way, is their #1 way of experiencing the world. When you're constantly around, your dog is busy watching you, reacting to you, adjusting to your mood and movement. Alone, that pressure disappears completely. Now, don't get this twisted. This doesn't mean your dog wants you gone forever or that your presence is some kind of burden. Dogs are deeply social animals, and their bond with their owner is real, powerful, and biologically wired. But here's the nuance nobody talks about. Needing you and needing constant stimulation from you are two very different things. Your dog loves you. That's not in question. What is in question is whether every single moment you're home actually feels relaxing to them, or whether some of it feels like low-level pressure to perform, to watch, to respond. Think about it from their perspective for a second. When you're home, your dog is constantly reading you. Are you about to grab the leash? Are you heading to the kitchen, which might mean food? Did that tone of voice mean something? Dogs are professional-level readers of human behavior, and that skill, while adorable, is also mentally exhausting. Constant vigilance takes energy. So when you leave, and the environment goes quiet and predictable, some dogs experience something close to psychological relief, even if the first few minutes look like the opposite. But here's a twist that flips this whole idea on its head, and this is where the story gets a little emotional. Not every dog handles alone time the same way, and the difference often comes down to one thing: whether the dog feels secure. Dogs who deal with separation anxiety, real anxiety, not just excitement at the door, don't get that peaceful reset we just talked about. For them, being alone is genuinely distressing the entire time you're gone. Elevated heart rate, pacing destructive behavior. In severe cases, dogs will chew furniture, scratch at doors until their paws bleed, or bark for hours straight. So this isn't a blanket rule that applies to every dog on the planet. It depends heavily on the individual animal, their history, their training, and how secure they feel in their environment.
This is actually one of the most important discoveries in modern dog behavior research. Alone time isn't inherently good or bad for a dog. It's neutral. What determines whether it becomes peaceful or stressful is the dog's underlying sense of safety. A dog raised with consistent routines, a comfortable space, and positive associations with being alone, think toys, calm departures, no dramatic goodbyes,
tends to slip into that relaxed resting state pretty quickly. A dog who's experienced sudden abandonment, inconsistent schedules, or high-stress departures where the owner is anxious and rushed, often can't relax at all, even hours later. And here's something that might genuinely surprise you. Some trainers and behaviorists have found that dogs actually pick up on your anxiety about leaving them. If you make a huge emotional deal out of goodbyes, lots of hugging, sad talking, guilty looks, your dog senses that something is wrong, and that tension follows them into their alone time. Meanwhile, owners who leave calmly, almost casually, without turning it into an event, tend to have dogs who settle down faster and more completely. In other words, sometimes the most loving thing you can do before leaving is act like it's not a big deal at all. Now let's get into the climax of all this, because there is a piece of research that really puts this whole idea into perspective. When scientists studied cortisol levels, the stress hormone in dogs throughout the day, they found something unexpected. In securely attached, well-adjusted dogs, cortisol levels during alone time were often not dramatically different from cortisol levels during normal home activity. Meaning, for a healthy, secure dog, being alone isn't some traumatic event. It's just another part of their day, like sleeping or eating. The emotional explosion we see at the door isn't necessarily distress about being alone. Sometimes it's simply excitement about a change in routine. The same reaction some dogs have when you just walk from one room to another, just amplified because a door is now closed. So where does this leave us? Do dogs secretly prefer when you're not home? The honest answer, and this is the twist that ties everything together, is that it's not about preference at all. It's about relief from constant social performance, balanced against a deep, genuine need for connection and safety. Your dog isn't choosing solitude over you. They're simply capable of finding peace in your absence. The same way you might enjoy a quiet evening alone, even though you love your family deeply. That capacity for calm alone time is actually a sign of a healthy, secure dog, not a sign that they don't need you. If your dog is one of those dogs who panics for the entire time you're gone, that's not something to ignore. That's a dog telling you they need more support, more structure, maybe some training or gradual desensitization to build that sense of safety. But if your dog settles down after a few minutes and sleeps peacefully until you're home, that's not your dog rejecting you. That's your dog trusting the world enough to actually relax. And honestly, that's one of the best gifts you could give them.
So next time you walk out the door and hear that dramatic goodbye bark, don't feel guilty. In most cases, within minutes, your dog is probably curled up in your favorite chair, completely at peace, dreaming about the moment you walk back through that door. And when you do come home, that explosion of joy you get, that's real too.
Dogs are capable of holding both truths at once, peace when you're gone and pure happiness when you're back. If this changed the way you think about your dog's daily life, drop a comment and tell me how your dog handles being alone. I genuinely want to know. And if you enjoyed this, hit subscribe because we're just getting started uncovering the secret psychology of the dogs we think we already know everything about.